come out to play. The peace to the break of Sam brings the peace to the break of night. I love that part. That's bringing the peace to the break of night. I don't even know if that even means anything. How's everyone doing this afternoon? I am Sam, and this is not the morning mayhem. This is the afternoon aftermath. I guess we'll just call it that. I'm sorry about this morning. I'll just be completely honest. I just was lightweight freaking out. First of all, I fell asleep at my computer last night. So I woke up like this. And then when I put my head back like this and was like, realized I was sitting up in my seat and it was like the middle of the night, Mariana comes to the door and she's like, "Are you still working on your computer?" And I'm like, "What? No, I just woke up." And I don't think she believed me because she used to really get on me about, spending too much time and, editing videos and doing all the things for my legal channel and Legal Livewire that I used to like kind of minimize, of me being, it was like, "No, I fell asleep." And I used to fall asleep like at 8 at night, wake up like at 10 or 11 and then be fully rested. So I would work on a few videos until the middle of the night. But it always sounded like I was trying to come up with excuses to work as much as I could on the videos. And I lightweight was most of the time, but this time I really did just wake up, but well, she believed me because I haven't done that in a long time. So anyway, so then I went to bed and then woke up to take Hazley to school, right? And then I fell asleep again, and I woke up like at 7:30, and I was in my head about, I thought I doxed somebody, and I was in my head about that, and I was like, man, am I even, I started, just a pity party for myself just for a little bit, but I've had a great day. Had some great conversations with a few people today. Got to do a 12-step call, to kind of help someone that needed help, and who didn't want the help. Strangely enough, he's probably like me. I have to go to jail to get clean. If I get into full-blown relapse, for the only way I ever get clean is to go back to jail and to get kicked in the head. But that was a long time ago. I don't do that anymore, because I hate jail. And I have a beautiful family now. And I think the last thing I would do would be to get involved in a relapse that would take me a long time. Anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about today. So we have the Levesque, Levesque trial. So this cat shot his neighbor. And he shot his neighbor over, I guess it was over some snow plowing. Nobody knows what the conversation was, but I guess they were talking about like getting together as a neighborhood to like snowplow each other's driveways. But if this guy wasn't going to be able to do it, then the daughter said that they were just going to do it by hand. But no one's seen the argument. The guy ends up getting shot. So we get to hear, not today because this is opening arguments, but over the next few days during this trial, I'm going to be covering them live. This is a replay of the live from today. I would have jumped in and done it, but I had therapy today. So today was a bad day for me to be streaming in the middle of the day. But moving forward, we are going to cover this trial. I'm super interested in what the defense is going to be. I can almost guess what it might be because in the opening statements, they're talking about, I didn't hear the opening statements, but I heard them reference the opening statement to one of the witnesses. They did see one witness today. That was the victim's daughter. And they did make a reference to, you didn't see what was in your dad's pocket in a screwdriver or something like that. So I think that's kind of what the defense is going to be, self-defense, but we're all going to find out together. And I'm super excited about this trial. it's not a salacious celebrity trial or anything like that, but I love legal. I love being a law nerd. I've been a part of it for the later part of my life in one way or another. I've been an expert witness for defense before. I think that I wish my wife was here. She could tell me. I think it was like 2 years ago. I was an expert witness on prison gangs in a murder trial. It was amazing. Had the best time. I got to send them all my hours and got a huge paycheck from it a couple years ago. So I am a true law nerd. I love it to death. And let's get into this before I end up talking us all to death. Did I remove it? Oh no, it's on there. God, I'm an idiot. All right, here we go, guys. Hopefully none of you guys have seen it. Thank you, Kathy Pitcher. That's Jason Levesque right there. Nice man bun. If I was in the jury, I'd say he's guilty just for the man bun. So they're probably just going to give they're going to probably just bring in the jury and just give some jury instructions. I do think the jury goes out to see the crime scene. If that's the case, I'll fast forward while they're gone, because this is a 5-hour video, but I'm sure that there's a lot of dead time that I can fast forward through. Let's hear what the judge has to say.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for being here. Welcome back to Stratford County Superior Court.
You guys can all hear that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, in a few minutes, we're going to begin the proceedings in this case by taking what's called a view. So we are going to go to a location in Rochester where the events that are involved in this case took place. Before we do that, let me explain a little bit about what a view is and what is expected of you during that view. The reason for a view is fairly straightforward. During the course of a trial, you're going to hear people talking about incidents which took place at a particular location. And the idea is that that testimony will make more sense to you if you first have an opportunity to see that location yourselves. And
awesome, John. Thanks for stopping in, brother.
Where things are located. So your obligation on the view is to look as carefully as you can and remember what you see as well as you can. There are a couple of important rules I have to tell you, however, first. First, you may not ask questions on the view. So you're not allowed to ask questions. If you do so, neither of the parties is permitted to answer your questions. Second, you're not allowed to take any notes or measurements while you're on the view. And third, you're not allowed to go back on your own later to that location to have a second look at it. This is the only chance you'll get to see this location. You're not allowed to go back on your own and view it again. And finally, and this is a very important rule, you're not allowed to talk amongst yourselves or with anyone else about what you see on the view, your impressions about the location, etc. This is a more specific instance of a general rule that I'm going to tell you later in my instructions. And you're going to hear me say this many times during this case. And that is that you're not to discuss the facts of this case amongst yourselves or with anyone else until the case is over, until you're back in the jury room deliberating at the end of this case. And that'll be after you've heard all the testimony and my instructions on the law. So you're not to have conversations amongst yourselves about the trial during the course of the trial. That can be a very hard instruction to follow because there's a natural instinct you're going to have when we take breaks to want to say, hey, how do you think it's going? Or,
hi, Pamela. Welcome to the channel.
What do you think about that? You're not allowed to do that. All right. So when you're on breaks or when you're on the bus coming back to the courthouse, talk about other things. Talk about the weather, talk about the Celtics. Don't talk about the case. All right.
The Celtics, they got it. Well, they're in New Hampshire.
Right, so what's going to happen? In a few minutes, you're all going to get loaded onto a bus and we're going to travel together to that location. Once there, you're going to take a look around. The lawyers might point out particular things to you at the location that they want you to see. Pay careful attention. However, you are not limited to only look at the things that they point out to you. You're welcome to look at whatever you want to look at. Counsel, is there an issue? Do we need to just...
Dang, already an issue? They're just talking about the going to the view. It's interesting because it happened outside in a driveway. I'm super interested. I'm going to try to get an address so I can do like a Google Earth. I'll make like a little screen recording of Google Earth tomorrow. If there's if they have, well, they will have some hearings tomorrow. Well, they'll have the trial tomorrow. Yeah, I'll try to get a Google Earth picture of where this happened. I just need to get an address. I'll find the address. It looks like right now they're just doing a quick little sidebar. How is everybody today? Did everyone have a great day? After this morning, after like 11, my day got amazing. It really did. Although I didn't get a chance to shave. That will happen tonight. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments about
this may sometimes
this case,
happen in this trial.
here we go.
It's been pointed out to me that I've actually failed to do something I was supposed to do, and so I want to correct it right now while we do it. Before we started all this, I was supposed to have you first sworn in as jurors. That's the first step in this process, where you become officially jurors by being sworn in. So I'm going to ask my clerk, Madam Clerk, will you please swear in the members of the jury?
He's nervous because there's so much media there.
When we come back.
All right, so members of the jury, will you please stand and will you all please raise your right hand? Do you all solemnly swear or affirm that you will carefully consider the evidence and the law presented to you in this case, and that you will deliver a fair and true verdict as to the charges against the defendant? If so, please say I do. Thank you. You may all be seated.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda.
So now technically you're now officially jurors on this case. I'm not going to reread all the instructions I just gave you. I'm going to trust that you can remember what I just told you. And some of those instructions you're going to hear again later anyway, so I'm not worried about that. But let me just finish up with what's going to happen in a few minutes. So as I said, we're going to get on the bus. We're going to travel to this location. Once we're there, you can take a look around. The lawyers may point out things to you they want you to pay close attention to, but you're not limited to only look at those things. And I will tell you this, an important thing to understand is what you see on the view is evidence in this case, just as much as any of the other evidence you're going to hear in this case. So that means that what you see on the view can be considered by you when the time comes to render your verdict at the end of this trial. So it's extremely important that you pay close attention to what you see on the view, that you observe, carefully. It is your view, so you can stay on the scene as long as you like, and you'll be given a full opportunity to see everything there and get a good perspective. I request of you all that when we're at the view, though, it would be helpful if you try to stay fairly close together. I don't want individuals wandering off on their own. Please don't spread out too much. Then if you do, you'd have a hard time hearing what's going on if the lawyers want to say something to you. So that's important.
I already know why.
As we're traveling there to the view and back, we're going to be in the charge of the court officers and the sheriffs. If anyone should attempt to talk to you about this case during your time on the view, I want you to please notify a deputy sheriff or a court officer immediately. One last thing I want to mention to you, you probably already noticed, there is going to be media coverage of this trial. As you can see, there is a camera here in the courtroom recording this, and there may be live streaming, I'm told, of this trial. I want you to know several things about that.
Yes, sir.
First, the media has been instructed, and I have every reason to think that they're professionals and will follow my instruction, that they are not to film members of this jury. Your images and likenesses will not be put out there in the public eye. Second, I'm instructing you, and this will also be part of my general instructions later, that you're not to view any media coverage about this case. So you're prohibited from going home and watching any of the live stream. If you come across articles or reports about this, you're to disregard those. And also, because of the media coverage, it just makes it more likely that members of your family or friends might approach you and want to talk to you about what they saw and ask you questions. I'm instructing you, you're not to engage in any of those conversations. All right. So if anyone approaches you and wants to talk to you about this trial, because what they saw on the
That's
media,
right, Wolfie.
you're to not
too.
engage in those conversations, to immediately disengage. Okay. Very good. Now, at this point, before we go and get on the bus, the attorneys are given an opportunity to give what's called a preview statement. A preview statement is simply a short statement given by the lawyer to assist you in understanding what they want you to observe at the view. These preview statements are not the opening statements. Those will come later after we get back. And importantly, an important thing to remember is these preview statements, just like the opening statements you're going to hear later, are not themselves evidence. These are things that the lawyers are telling you they'd like you to pay attention to, but they're not themselves evidence.
I already know. Sorry to interrupt you real quick, but I want to take a guess at why this would be important in this case, and I'm guessing because they're going to have to claim self-defense of some sort. You can't just murk somebody in a driveway because you're not getting your driveway plowed. But I'm guessing they're going to say like he was here and the other guy was here, and it's too far for him to feel like his life was threatened with a screwdriver. Do you know what I mean? Like, you had plenty of time to escape the situation, to get to somewhere safe, or jump in your car, or whatever, run to the house and lock the door. That's what probably the prosecution is going to say. Like, there was no reason to, that he, there was no reason to unalive him because there was plenty of time for him to get somewhere safe. I'm guessing. That's my as educated of a guess I can provide. Let's listen to what these lawyers have to say. I would fast forward to the opening statements, but I'm super interested in. This is only the second time I've ever seen a view and then a view hearing, and like these statements.
All right. So with that, we'll now turn to the preview statements. Attorney Barth, you may proceed.
Good morning. So it's been a week and a half, and maybe you've forgotten my crazy Swedish name. My name is Jonathan Barth. Together with my co-counsel, Sarah Diola. I'm presenting the evidence for the state, appearing on behalf of the state of New Hampshire. And over the next course of several days, we'll be presenting the evidence to support the charging documents. The view. First, where? We're going out to address residential address, section 2. In Rochester on Summer Street. These are adjacent addresses. Number 43 has 2 units in it, and the victim, Kyle, Violette, lived there. He lives there with his family, the details of which we'll talk about later. Immediately next door, separated by a driveway, is 41. And there, Jason, Levesque, lived there with his family. And we'll talk about more details of that later. That's where we're going. We're going to go out front. We're not going to go into either of those residences. We're going to go out front because that's where the events underlying these charges took place. A shooting in the street right out front of these residences. Why? Why are we going out there? The judge touched on some of these issues. Look, we expect probably 6 videos to be introduced. 6 videos that capture really significant events in this case. The
Wow.
part of a confrontation,
Wow,
literally
wow,
the
wow.
actual shooting itself. But here's the catch. These videos come from different angles. They integrate, they overlap. But literally, you know, one is looking up the driveway from 41, one is looking down from the corner of 41, a porch view from 41, and a bay window view from 43, kind of at an angle. And so it's true that these videos overlap, they link together, they can form a cohesive picture. But the theory about going out on this view is, you know, some people learn differently. You know, some people could look at these in sequence and it all comes together. The theory is other people are visual learners, and that going out there and seeing a panoramic that allows you then to integrate and overlap these videos more effectively.
Wanna Love, it's good to see you, Wanna Love. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while.
Of the evidence best. And so when we go out there, we're primarily, from the state's perspective, going to be pointing out things like line of sight, distances, perspectives, that we hope will assist during the course of this trial when you receive other forms of evidence. What's the catch? The catch is this, you know, the judge also alluded to this. You're going out there without the benefit of opening statements that give you an overview from both sides' two perspectives about the important issues and facts in this case. And so you're going out there a little disembodied from a coherent narrative. All I'll ask you to do is take, you know, clear images in your mind, and keep in mind that what you see out there is in fact evidence. And it's going to be evidence that we're going to ask you to draw from, to incorporate into the greater body of evidence in this case to return a guilty verdict at the end. So it's important. Again, we can't tell you the full story yet. We'll do that when we get back. So we've got that. Again, we can't answer your questions, but both sides are going to just point out issues and just ask you the importance of it. This is evidence. And see you out there and then back here. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Sistine.
Thank you. Excuse me. Good morning. Sorry. Good morning. Good seeing y'all. Sometimes we lose jurors over the week and a half, 10 days. And if you guys can count, you know that we did. We did lose a juror this morning. So it's very important that you listen to the judge's instructions and keep it together. We can't afford to lose too many more jurors.
A juror must have got kicked out. I'm going to find out and I'll report on it tomorrow.
You're about to get into the meat of the case.
Interesting.
And the meat of the case starts this morning. The meat of the case and the first reasonable doubts that are going to come to your mind are going to be developed this morning through this view. And I can't emphasize that enough. A lot of people, you know, slight it off as some kind of a field trip. This is not a field trip. This is the real deal. This is just as important as any of the medical evidence that will come in during the course of this trial. It's just as important, or more important, than testimony, even from some of the individuals that will be testifying. You know, prosecutor told you that these are adjacent homes. They are adjacent homes. He did define one of the individuals as being a victim. That will be up to you to determine whether he was a victim at the end of this case. I want you to understand that, okay? We take issue with that starting now. We take issue with that starting on the view. And I can't push that hard enough. You were asked.
You're going to have to be careful
Open-minded.
what he says here.
Decide this case without bias or prejudice. And the true test is about to begin. When we go out there, you're going to have to understand a couple things. Last April, there was a freak snowstorm. I don't know if you folks remember that. It was a wild, wet, terrible snowstorm. And it actually, I think, went on for, I don't know, overnight even. It went on for a few hours, a lot of hours. And it accumulated a lot of snow. Now, there's been snow, but there's not been accumulation like that. There's been a lot of melting. Okay. So when we get out there, just try to envision.
It's weird that these
area,
guys have
no
any like
coverage.
thick
Okay.
New England accents.
One other thing, we're going out in the daylight. All right. This thing took place a little bit after 10 o'clock at night. All right. So keep that kind of a context going too. This is a nighttime situation. All right. So keep an eye around. Take a look at where we are. I have to emphasize with you that
I
you're gonna
agree
get
with
some
the man
really
bun
good,
over the bald ponytail
video,
any day of the
captured,
week.
on some ring
Hey,
cameras.
Pam, how are you today?
That evening. It's actually going to be very helpful to you.
I'm going to do a quick
Some of the
shout out
video
roll call here in a
we'll be
minute.
able To actually enhance, and by enhance I mean blow it up, zero in on certain areas, so that you'll get even better.
Hey, Tar.
What's going on. But it is important to draw the big picture this morning, the layouts. You know, we'll fill in the blanks. It's our job to fill in the blanks. It's your job to get the outline. Okay, we'll plug it in as we go. But I got to tell you, I can't emphasize enough. I can't emphasize enough how important this is. All right. I know you can't ask questions out there. I know you may want. I got to tell you, we'd probably love to answer them. But there'll be a time and a place. You know, we get to do openings and we get to do examinations of witnesses. And hopefully we'll be able to fill in those blanks for you as we move through this trial. That's our job. Okay? Your job is to remain neutral. Your job is to remain open-minded. And you got to really turn it up as far as observation. Because by the time you get to the deliberation room, okay, it's not going to be 1 day or 2 days from now. It's probably going to be into next week. So try to really lock down on this. And if you can, we'd really appreciate it.
Next week.
Jason's depending on you to stay open-minded and neutral. You got to do it. And we're going to get going on it right now. And the judge told you this. I can't emphasize it enough.
I heard her.
This is your view. This isn't our view. This is your view. If you need time to look at something, that bus doesn't leave until you're done. Okay? This is where you guys are the boss now. Okay? And, you get to take over certain parts of the case. One of them is today. It's today. And one's going to be at the end of this trial, deliberation room, when you decide the fate of Jason Levesque. So take advantage of those two opportunities, all right? And we're going to get out there. We'll point stuff out to you. It'll all make sense as we move through this thing. But I want to thank you again. Thanks for hanging in there. We got a while to go. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Attorney Sisti. All right. So at this point, I think we are ready to commence with the view. So I'd ask the court officers to start that process, please.
Please rise.
Well, cool. They're going to go do the view. And we're going to do a roll call real quick. And then I'll fast forward it because, you know. All right. Let's see who's here today. I'm going to go to the top. I should work my way backwards. No, I'm going to go up to the top. What a beautiful day today, too, by the way. Heather Rhodes, how are you doing today? It's good to see you. ASAP Lizzie, love the bolts. My own eyes and ears, how are you today? James Collins Cares. Thanks for talking to me today. I really appreciate it. Heather is so fast, he says. So fast. Kathy, I want to say Piter, like Irish. Sounds Irish to me. But good to see you. Thank you so much for coming into the live today. Woofy, it's good to see you today. And I'm sorry guys about this morning again. I just grabbed one of the folders off of my iPhone, and you know how iPhones can make a video. I just had it make a video and put a ending clip from some clip I wanted to show last week, and then a little kitty cat rolling around. Yeah, so I just put that together real quick because I didn't want to. I just wanted to let you guys know that that I was alive, you know, and that that everything's okay. I missed that thumbnail, but I am here for saying all you guys. Thank you so much, Cherry. It's good to see you today. I super appreciate you always. Who else is here today? Sherry, Ian. Nice to see you, Ian. Thank you for the lovely email. I finally got to it today. Someone said hi to Galen. I didn't see her. Oh, hey, Galen. Hi. You were in dark green. So I thought it was ASAP. It's good to see you, Galen. Thanks for being here. It was lovely talking to you also today. Good afternoon. Happy to see you all. Jamie Palmer, how are you doing today? It's good to see you. I feel like I'm a little out of whack right now for some reason. I'm like, la, 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 hey, hey, la, 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 hey, hey. At least that's how I feel. I hear it. Motherbird 63, good to see you today. Thank you for being here. And thank you to all the mods for modding, for showing up. You know, I didn't really send any emails saying I was going to do this. I just put the clip up. I want to start doing that, like giving you guys a heads up, you know, hey, I might be doing this. You know, please don't ever feel obligated. You know, it's a selfless position to be in, and I appreciate you guys. Hopefully one of these days I'll be able to hand out bonuses or something. That wouldn't that be amazing? That'd be super amazing. James and I kind of talked about that earlier. It was pretty funny, huh, James? About bonuses, like if we were. Anyway, John Lazon, he was here, but then he had to go weld some more. This is the middle of his workday. ASAP, Lizzie. Lizzie, as soon as possible, Lizzie. Linda, how are you doing today? It's good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. For real, for real. Mariana Yarbrough, hi, how are you today? Oh, you just brought me my vape. Thank you, dear, for contributing to my slow and painful death. Hi, Linda. Hi, John Lazon, Mother Bird, Wolfie. Tara Jackson, how are you doing today? And I see you just became a member. Thank you so much. However that happened, I appreciate you being here today. I feel like I saw you. I was just in another chat with you somewhere. Okay. All right. We're going to fast forward through. Look at that guy. That does not look like the guy who was sitting at that table. Does it? He must have dyed his hair. Yeah. See, like that guy looks like he unalived someone in a bad way. And look, that other guy's a family man. And they're calling it the bad blood shooting trial. So I'm guessing there's previous bad blood between them. But I did hear one of the a little bit of the testimony of one of the older daughters, and she said that they were unknown. So I don't know. I don't want to speak on something I really don't know about. Who else is here? V. McWilliams, good to see you today. I am Motherbird's got a question. What is for anyone? He's here on trial for unaliving his neighbor over snow plowing. That's what the media has been saying. That's what the little summary that Court TV gave was that it was over snow plowing some driveways. Look, I've seen someone, literally have seen someone get unalived over a postage stamp. So after seeing something like that, I think, and I'm not exaggerating, that's a true story. I'm not surprised what people get unalived over. You could tell me, they got unalived over an ice cream sandwich. I've seen someone get unalived over a postage stamp. So nothing surprises me with murder trials at all. The human nature, humans are capable of anything and everything, but people unalive people just for fun. So. Okay, let me fast get to this. But yeah, in this picture, this guy looks like, like someone who's having housing issues, and is living on the street, and that he looked like a college kid sitting in the witness chair. Or at the defense table. I'm sorry. All right, let's hear these opening statements. This should be good. That's not.
So, Madam
There we
Clerk,
go.
can you please read the indictment?
Members of the jury, in docket number 219-2024-CR273, charge ID number 2228154C, the state has charged the defendant Jason Levesque with attempted murder. Charging document alleges that on or about the 4th day of April 2024 at Rochester.
Oh, for attempted?
The crime of attempted murder, and that he did, with the purpose of the crime of homicide being committed, repeatedly shoot Kyle Violette with a 9mm pistol, which, under the circumstances as he believed them to be, constituted a substantial step toward the commission of the crime. In the same docket number, charge ID number 2228155C, the state has charged the defendant Jason Levesque with first-degree assault. Charging document alleges.
Okay, it's an attempted murder.
The defendant did commit the crime of first-degree assault, and that he did knowingly cause bodily injury to Kyle Violette when he repeatedly shot Mr. Violette with a 9mm pistol.
I'm sorry, guys. I thought it was a fatality. That is super unprofessional of me to not know that. So I apologize.
You are to say by your verdicts whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty of the crimes charged. Please pay careful attention to the evidence.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So, ladies and gentlemen,
and he's charged with first-degree assault.
Facts in this case, and it is going to be your job
they're just
to decide
giving
the
that
facts as they are presented during
option.
the course of the trial. You will be deciding what the truth is and what happened.
Multiple shots
based on
in the
your
body.
findings of the facts.
That's attempted murder.
You will then listen to the law that applies to this case, which I'll give to you at the end of the trial. And by putting those two things together, the facts and the law, you'll then go into the jury room and decide what your verdict will be. What you'll base your verdict on in this case is the evidence that's presented during the trial. And the evidence can come in a variety of forms. First, witnesses will testify during the trial. The attorneys will question them. The witnesses will provide answers to those questions. And what the witnesses say is evidence. And you can use that in reaching your verdict. Another form of evidence that you will see in this case will be exhibits. Oftentimes during a trial, things such as objects, documents, photographs, and in this case, we've heard videotapes, are marked as exhibits. Those exhibits that are admitted into evidence go into the jury room with you at the end of the case, and you can consider those exhibits in reaching your verdict. And recall, as I also instructed you previously, what you saw on the view a few minutes ago is a form of evidence, and you can rely on that as well in reaching your verdict. The trial will begin, and probably right after we take the lunch break, with the opening statements by an attorney for each side. In a criminal case such as this, the state has the burden of proving their case by proving each element
let's
of the
get some
charge
ones in the
against
chat. If you guys
defendant
just want me
beyond
to
a
get to
reasonable
the
doubt.
opening
And
statements,
because they have the burden of proof,
or
the state goes first.
if we're all super
Defense
hardcore
will
law
then give you
nerds,
their opening statement.
I want to listen
An
to this
opening
jibber jabber.
statement allows the attorney
I
to
don't think he's going
tell
to say anything
you
that we don't
what
already
they
know.
believe the evidence is going to be from the
If I
viewpoint
see
of that attorney.
5
And the
ones,
important thing
then
to remember about opening
5
statements
people say ones,
is that
then
opening
we'll.
statements are not themselves evidence. You can use an opening statement to
It's
help you understand the
multiple
evidence
ones. That
from
means
that
that
party's
yes,
point of
gone
view.
with
But
it.
what the attorneys tell you that the evidence is going to be, or what they
But
think
if
the
we are
evidence
watching it
is
live, of course we
not
won't be able
in
to
and
do
of itself
that.
evidence, and you can't base your verdict on it. In the end, if your recollection of the evidence turns out to be different
They go to
from what the
lunch.
attorney tells you, then it
Go
is
to
your
lunch
recollection that
and-
controls. After opening statements are
All right, here we go. Let's hear some opening statements. I love opening statements. It's really probably my second favorite thing of the trial. It is important. Yes. The things that the judge was just saying, it's absolutely important. If that's what you were saying, Lizzie, it does set the tone. You're right. All right, Liz. Cool. I'm glad I have some law nerds out there that watch my channel a little bit. Well, let's get with it. Let's get with it. Let's get with it. Something happened, but luckily. There we go. So the prosecution usually goes first in most states. Some states.
so loud.
Well, no, I think they asked the defense, do you want to go first or last?
Please rise, jury entering.
Real quick question by Ian Wallace. Sam, you've been through all this, not murder, obviously, but what was it like in person for you? It's fun because with my case, mine was a drug trafficking case, trafficking from Mexico to LA through Denver up to Montana. And so I had actual indictments in 2 of those states. Federal indictments. What they did a Rule 21, and what a Rule 21 does, it combines those. I'm just going to blow me up a little bit. It combines those into one, and then somehow a decision is made on where I'm going to be tried at. So it could have either been Los Angeles or Montana. I should have. I was hoping for Los Angeles, but I got Montana just because for there's a lot of trafficking down in LA, of course, and I thought that the judge down there would possibly be more just like, you know what, he sees this all the time. But there are sentencing guidelines in the Fed, so no matter what, I was going to get the sentence I got. But I was fighting. I did have some motions to suppress some evidence, and that would have got me a lower guideline. So. But up in Montana, I had a judge. His name was Judge Siebel, and he was terrible. He said that I had a pipeline of illegal chemicals going from Mexico to Montana, which was not true. It wasn't a pipeline, not even close to a pipeline. But that's what he said. And then also he said in an interview, this is my judge, that he was going to sentence for drugs people to 1 million man years in jail before he retired. So before he retired, though, he was sending emails that were of a racist nature. I must say, or I should say, and they were on his government, on the government server, the servers, whatever. Software that they have running on those servers caught those emails of him calling our president at the time the N-word, which was super inappropriate, and he got fired and let go. And then the prosecutor was asked to resign, but he didn't get fired. But he was asked to resign, and he resigned. The two people that sent me away, and then there was a lot of other things wrong with the way that they conducted themselves. I think a couple people got some action, but mostly they just disappeared into the ethos. But yeah, I know you just asked me how it was, but that's how it was for me. It was exciting. I guess what I was going to say was I was already knowing that I was going to be going away. But there was, I truly, in my heart of hearts, I didn't think people were going to testify against me, and they sure did. Because when you're in that lifestyle, and I'm not mad at them, now, at all, I'm not. And in that lifestyle, but when you're in the lifestyle, people say, you got to stay strong. We don't like rats, we don't like snitches. But people get afraid to go away, to go to prison for a long time. So a lot of people will cooperate, and they will, they'll tell on you basically. So it was hard to see those people point their finger at me, people who I thought were my friends. And, but I have that all in my testimony and another video, so we won't get into all that. Let's hear what these opening statements are, but thank you for the question, Ian. I appreciate you always for your support, of the channel. Oh no, that's crazy, Wanna Love.
All right, thank you, folks. Hope you all have
Definitely
an enjoyable lunch.
pray
Thank you
for
being
them
on time
today.
Coming back. We are ready
If
to
we can get some
proceed with
ones and
opening
prayers
statements.
for Woofy's
Statement
colleague,
of
that is just awful, man. That's right, Lizzie. There's no honor at all.
Jason Levesque is guilty of attempted murder, first-degree assault, firing 6 rounds of 9mm ammunition into Kyle Violette's body. This in response to Kyle warning, Jason's term, a threat not to put snow in front of Kyle's driveway. That the defendant responded to Kyle's words with lethal, deadly violence responded to a hollow threat over pettiness, a petty grievance with that kind of violence is the crime here. Let me be a little bit more specific about this criminal act. After Kyle said his words, even a threat, he stepped away. And the defendant brought out a firearm and pointed it at Kyle. Kyle could clearly see the firearm. There's no lighting issue, no lighting problem. The headlights of the vehicle were on, street lights were on, house lights were on. The weapon was clearly visible to Kyle, and he responded. He responded by turning away from the defendant, back towards his home. And as he turned away, from about 10, 15 feet away, the defendant fired.
Wow.
First round ripped through Kyle's jaw, his face.
Jeez.
Broken mandibles lodging near his carotid artery. And it caused him to immediately drop to the ground, facing away from the defendant, now facing towards his home. And after that first shot, it's about a 5-second pause, a delay.
Yeah, I heard the video earlier.
The defendant
It's crazy.
advanced on him, walked towards him. Kyle is literally crawling on his hands and knees, on his belly, leaving a blood smear across the road diagonally towards his house. The defendant opened fire. 5 more shots.
Oh my gosh, he's
Back part
done.
of his body and the side of his body as he jerked and twisted on the ground, crawling away to try and get to safety. That's the criminal act.
Sorry, I need to stop this for a second. So think about this for a second. What he's saying is probably true. The defense, not probably true. It is true. There's going to be evidence that shows exactly what he's saying. There has to be, or else he wouldn't be saying it. Well, yeah. But in this instance, I believe there's evidence that shows exactly what he's saying. What possibly could be a defense to that? Do you know what I mean? What possibly could be a defense to that? Well, we're going to find out, because the defense gets to have an opening statement and present their defense. But as of now, I can't even imagine. And I watch these all day long. I can't even imagine what a defense could be to that evidence. I knew none of that. This could be either a really boring lame trial, because we know how it's going to end. It's going to end up in a guilty charge. But there must be something. So we're about to find out. But just try to think to yourselves, what possibly could there be? I mean, I can't think of anything. Craziness.
Each of those 6 bullets caused either maiming or potentially lethal or actually life-threatening injuries. Kyle Violette lived by sheer luck and the immediate intervention of some very sophisticated and effective medical.
The grace of God.
First, from an officer who was highly trained in the military, responded within minutes and helped stem the bleeding. An EMT with heightened training, a paramedic, took over from there. 3 separate hospitals, Frisbee, then transferred to Portsmouth, then transferred to Boston for the intensive medical intervention that was required is what
Oh, that's
saved
awesome.
Kyle's life. And so to be
That's
clear
awesome.
about this, the evidence will show Kyle didn't die for his lack of trying, but because of medical intervention. Let me talk then, just briefly, summarize this issue.
Yeah, what else is there to
The evidence
say?
will show that no, there was absolutely nothing to justify what was nearly an execution in the street out in front of Kyle's home. That's because the defendant wasn't responding to a reasonable belief, reasonable evidence that Kyle was about to imminently use deadly force against him. And let me be clear, this proposition, this law will come from the judge, not me. And it's not merely legalese.
But here's the deal. And sorry, I need to stop this again. Here's the deal. Even if it's but you know, we're a commentary channel, so that's why you know I get to stop it. There's even if he was, just to say the dude had a screwdriver and was gonna attack him, and you thought you were gonna die. If you shoot him once and he's on the ground crawling away, that's it. The threat is gone. The threat is gone. After that, it's attempted murder. It can't be anything else. But we're gonna see. We're gonna see.
Some hyper-technical statement. We gotcha for this action. This is a principle.
Thanks, Sherry. I appreciate that.
A guardrail.
I do feel like an expert,
that we all
actually.
live by, that restrains violence in our community, in our state, and should have in this case. Retribution, getting angry about somebody's scary words, is not the same thing as self-defense. That
Sure isn't.
is another guiding principle in this particular case. You're going to hear more specifically about these words. And these words are unsettling according to Jason. Jason has claimed that Kyle came out angry. Angry about where Kyle expected Jason to plow, push, deposit a pile of snow. And according to Jason, Kyle used offensive, threatening, and scary language. Bear with me, I'll quote Jason's claim. This, he claims, was verbatim. If you leave that fucking snow in front of my fucking driveway again, I'll fucking kill you and your family.
Yeesh.
That's what Jason claims he said. But in this fleeting, and I mean the confrontation that starts this is about 3 to 4 seconds of these words. In that confrontation, Kyle was never armed. He never appeared to be armed. He never brandished a weapon. Never hinted that he had a weapon or claimed that he had a weapon. There was no imminent threat of actual deadly force married to, even if you accept those horrible words. Those are the core issues. Those acts of coming up behind him, standing over him while he's on the ground, having shot him in the face, and putting 5 additional rounds into his body. in contrast to facts about what he was actually facing. That's this case. And let me now, if I could, talk to you about some background and some more detail about how it is we got here. He just went out to their homes. They had been neighbors for about a year and a half. As I mentioned,
Here comes the bad blood part.
the Violettes lived at 43. The one as you face the houses to the left. Kyle, yes, the victim, lived there with his partner of some 22 years, Angela, and Kendra, who was 17 at the time. His daughter kind of split some time for educational reasons, and a son who need not be named here because he didn't witness anything. Next door, 41, the Levesques. Jason's parents lived downstairs, and Jason lived with his daughter, Kira, 19 at the time, in the building, in the home to the right as you face it from the street. And we
That's
heard a
funny,
little
he's got
bit
his
about
parents
this on
downstairs
April
in the
4th
basement.
of 2023.
That's where my parents would be.
Last year.
Not really.
You gotta do
They would never live in my basement.
Snowstorm, some 18 inches, the heavy wet stuff. Big deal, right? Well, Jason was out plowing. It's one of the jobs he had. He plowed all day. He had essentially been plowing for about 24 hours, working for about 24 hours. And he stopped on the way home to pick up his daughter, who was working at a local pizza place, 9:30, 10 o'clock to bring her home. And when he arrived home with Kira still in the vehicle in the passenger seat, he did a couple of
Ian,
runs
I have a
in front of
quick
the house.
story I'm going to tell here in a second
First went up the street.
about your comment.
Did a run across and removed some snow in front of his driveway. And then he turned around and did probably 3 or 4 runs towards Kyle's home, towards 43. And it created a pile of snow next to that telephone pole that was pointed out to you, all right? But while this was going on, while Jason was plowing, Kyle's looking out the window, that bay window that we pointed out, and he sees the plowing activity going on, and he sees the pile of snow by the pole, and he sees the defendant, Jason, stop his truck, which is an older style big rig plow, where in order to put it in a 4-wheel drive, he's got to get out and manually turn the switch on the front wheels. And so there's this brake.
They're called hubblocks.
He
The
knows,
switch.
Kyle knows that Jason is going to go down the driveway and back plow more snow out. And based on the last snowstorm, where he put it in front of his driveway and he had to deal with it, he was angry. He anticipated that Jason was going to push the whole pile because it had been set up and cleared in front of his driveway. And he was going to have to get out there and basically do it himself. And so he goes outside. We see this on video based on this prior incident where he had, in fact, asked him, hey, can you move this stuff? Here, according to Kira, his daughter, who was interviewed, her account of it was, yeah, they asked us to move it last time, but we didn't do it. After all, snow melts. And that didn't sit well with Kyle. So he goes out and to confront Jason about this situation. And here he goes. We can see him in the video, walking out rapidly, putting on a hoodie as he goes. You can see from there, he's not armed, other than being angry. You can see by maybe his pace, he's annoyed. And all of a sudden, because he's gone out, Angela and Kendall, the Violette daughter, look out that bay window too and watch much of this go down. And As Kyle walks out, putting on his hoodie, he approaches Jason, who's at the truck. He's kneeled down by that hubcap, behind the plow, but just in front of his door. His daughter remains in the car, briefly steps out. And here's the thing, as Kyle approaches, his hands are out. And Jason admits he can see his hands. He's not armed. And on the walk over, he makes no gesture like that he's packing anything. His hands are visible. And he approaches, and according to Jason, Kyle makes this claim. If you put that fucking snow on my property, I'm going to fucking kill you and your family. That exchange is face to face, right at the plow. You'll be able to see it from multiple angles.
I want to say no one would ever say that, but you just never know.
During that
Still not enough.
encounter, Kyle doesn't display a weapon, doesn't hint he has a weapon, doesn't claim he has a weapon. If you put that,
and that's what they're going to have to say. Like, even if he did say that, which I doubt if he said that, even if he did say that, it's not enough to kill him or to try to. I'm sorry. This isn't a M trial. It's not enough. It just isn't.
Going to use this, that, or any other weapon to carry out this threat. It's words. After this 3 to 5 second exchange.
Thank you, Alicia. I appreciate that. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to do the morning show this morning.
Kyle walks away. He steps about 15 feet back. You can kind of assess that measurement because from the back driveway forward, just past that evergreen, you'll see Kyle still in view from all the way back of the driveway of 41. And so if you took kind of an eyeball measurement, it's about 15 feet from the corner of that fence to the angle of the evergreen. And that's about where he's standing. And you can see him in the video gesturing to the snow. That driveway, my driveway, and he's doing that kind of gesturing. The video audio doesn't quite pick it up, but you know he's talking about snow not going over there. And at some point during this pointing and gesturing, he stops and walks back towards his house, kind of pacing. He's certainly agitated. But he then takes a turn back. He walks probably 4 steps back towards Jason, still kind of gesturing. Still, no weapons visible, nothing to suggest he was armed, that he obtained a weapon, that he was holding a weapon, that he claimed he had a weapon. And as he walks back, he reaches a distance of approximately 15 feet away from Jason. And it's at this point that Jason steps away from his truck and forward, closes the distance to him slightly, and raises his firearm and points it out. He brandishes it. And guess what? It did what you would hope it would do. Kyle stops. You can clearly see that right at the edge of that pine tree. You can see him emerge and then step back. And it's at this point, there's a pause between brandishing the firearm because there's sufficient distance that nothing happens. Not long, but enough to see Kyle stop and turn away. He has been warned. He's received the warning, and he's responded appropriately. He's turned away. But from this two-hand stance, despite Kyle stopping, despite him turning back to his home, Jason Levesque fires. I told you it strikes him in the face, penetrates from the left to the right, smashing through his jaw, his teeth, lodging next to his carotid artery. He goes down. And you'll have a sense of where he goes down, not from the videos, but from body cam of police officers showing up. You'll be able to see various sweeps of body cam, the blood distribution on the ground. Where it starts, just the other side of that white line, and it drags diagonally towards Kyle's home. Kyle's clearly on the ground now, obviously incapacitated. He's not getting up, he's not bum rushing the defendant. He's on the ground now with a very serious injury. The hemorrhaging is going into his throat. Later has to be cleared by EMTs. They have to literally turn his body on its side to drain his throat. And yet, the collection of videos will show that despite this situation, Jason advances, takes multiple steps towards him. As he's on the ground, he's beginning to crawl on his belly, his hands and knees. You can see these videos where he unloads 5 more rounds. All of them striking his body. Kyle is able to crawl, I don't know, 10 more feet, right about at that pole on the sidewalk. So he's come off the road at an angle, and he basically curls up. And I told you that Kendra and Angela were watching from Violette's window. They obviously, when they see the first shot, they start rushing out, and they meet him as he on the ground, and everybody starts calling 911. And Angela, Kendra, other neighbors who have heard these rounds go off. And I don't know if you noticed how close this address on Summer Street is to Rochester PD. We'll hear testimony about it if you didn't, but it's just around the corner. And Rochester PD responds with multiple units in minutes. They get there. And here's where the paths from this event, for Kyle, Violette, and Jason Levesque, deviate. We've heard about this awful intersection. Now they split. And here's what happens with Kyle. He is launched on the path of a medical odyssey that hasn't ended. And I want to be clear about this. You will see evidence, graphic evidence of these injuries. You'll see body cam images of treatment. You'll see photos from the hospital, and you'll hear detailed accounts. And I want to assure you that the reason is not shock and awe to offend you, to provoke you to reach a certain verdict, to trigger your passions. It's this. This medical evidence is relevant to show, to prove his deadly intent. The repetition, the location, the nature of a 9mm bullet ripping through somebody's body is relevant to show intent to kill.
Yeah, it is relevant because if he would have emptied it into his legs, then there wasn't an intent to kill, right?
Out of this, you will see and hear from a guy named Sergeant Hurley, Williams Hurley, who's a combat medic overseas and has some real specialized training in triaging on the street. This is his thing. He cuts Kyle's clothes off. He is identifying a gunshot wound.
The automatic caption's called Treehouse. It's funny.
He's the one who realizes he's literally choking on his blood and tips him over to drain his throat. He's the one who takes over.
Yeah, he got lucky, man.
And the next person who arrives is
we all know. Man, God intervened right there.
Also with prior military and intensive training.
Man, how awesome is that, man? To get I'm friends with 3 military paramedics. 2 live here close to me. One's a fellow tattoo artist, ex-paramedic from the war in Iran or Iraq, and man, he's just an amazing dude, man. He's got some PTSD for sure. For sure, he does, man. He can. He doesn't drink anymore. But when he used to drink, man, he would really go through it. But what an amazing thing that this guy, this young man, got treated by that officer and that paramedic that have seen, because that's wartime, that's warlike triage that you need to help that guy. So that's just amazing to me.
And
God's will,
she
man. God's will.
triage, and she makes the decision, this guy needs to leave and leave now. Hurley says, if things didn't happen quickly, this man is going to die. And so they take him from the scene rapidly in a ambulance to the closest facility, a community hospital. Perhaps most of you are familiar with Frisbee Memorial. And there a guy named Dr. Freeze starts to perform medical services as well. He does a quick assessment of these gunshot wounds. They do some things there, primarily pumping in enormous amounts of blood. But they quickly reach the conclusion that these are life-threatening injuries, that there are diffuse bullet fragments through the body, that there are injuries, candidly, that they're not capable or confident about addressing. So they immediately, or very quickly, emergency evacuate him to our community higher level of care facility, which is Portsmouth. At Portsmouth, another doctor takes over, and in similar fashion, they assess, they do a surgery. I told you about some of these injuries, the bullet going through his face, breaking his jaws, but also landing near and dissecting part of his carotid artery. That he's shot, I told you, from behind. 2 wounds are literally in his buttocks, his back, that go through and penetrate partially his pelvic area, and also one is suspected of rupturing his
shooting him in the back,
so they
man.
do kind of this emergency surgery at Portsmouth. Look, it's graphic, but one of the bullet literally just obliterates his left testicle. It causes serious hemorrhaging. They have to do surgery, remove it, and
Oh, God.
the bleeding. They do that at Portsmouth, but they
Lost a testy.
quickly conclude that if he doesn't get more emergent care, he'll likely die there. So they medevac him to Boston, and you will hear the summary. I don't want to belabor these issues.
Man,
I point them out to show the seriousness, not just of injury, but intent. And so you're going to hear more about the
They really
injuries
stepped
to the
up to save this
clavicle,
guy's
the
life. That's
abdomen,
amazing.
to the enormous amount of bleeding and damage that was done internally. And that's for you to assess, not just the criminal acts, the criminal intent in this case. That's pretty much Kyle's journey. He's in the hospital down in Boston for about a month, discharged to home in the condition he was, which you'll hear about. Jason, at the same time that I told you people were literally descending on Kyle's prone body to save his life, there's another part of the reaction from the police, not surprisingly, that focuses on Jason. So let's go back to that scene right after the shooting. He finishes up with 5 rounds into Jason's essentially back and side as he's twisting. And then he takes a gun and he walks away, walks back to his truck. You're going to hear evidence about Jason's path. It's a different path. It's one he takes where he attempts to evade accountability, escape responsibility by recasting Kyle's actions to sound like he engaged in imminent, deadly behavior, that he created an imminent threat to his life. But you're going to hear evidence in more detail in this regard. Let me first share with you that Kyle returns to his, Jason returns to his truck, which is still parked out in the
It's so funny. I thought he was done after the
sidewalk.
The shooting testimony.
Has returned, has gone. She was only briefly outside when this whole thing happened. She got back in the truck, understandably, and witnessed much of this. And she'll tell you that when Jason got back into the truck, he turns to her and says, "Should I run now?" turns to his 19-year-old and says, "Should I run?"
Jeez.
Not like, I defended myself, did what I had to do. Should I run? His daughter, his 19-year-old, turns to him and says, "No." He says, "Well, what should I do?" She says, "This is your path. I don't know. Should I call 911? I don't know what you should do." And so he doesn't call 911, pulls into the driveway. And
He should have called
certainly doesn't
911.
have to wait
He
long.
looked better for his
Sirens
case.
have been going on now. Lights are on. It's around the corner. And the police come in and they do take him into custody. And he cooperates, seemingly, physically, sure. He puts the gun in the car. He steps out, seems polite and cooperative. But here's what happens next. A guy named Detective Garston and Flathers take him back to Rochester PD. They take him up to an interview room. And they don't know what's going on yet. When they first get on the scene, they don't even know who the shooter is or who's injured. They didn't see Kyle initially. He's over by that pole. That's how kind of uninformed they are. And so they bring him back and just kind of say, "Hey, well, tell us, what happened." And he describes much of what we've already talked about. He says that, "Look, I'm plowing, I'm minding my own business, I'm in front of my home, and I'm with my daughter, and out comes my neighbor, and he, while I'm doing the four-wheel drive thing, he comes up and nose to nose, and he repeats this. He's very clear on it.
Four-wheel drive thing.
Threat is conditional. Hey, if you move this over there, I'm going to fucking kill you." There's no doubt that this was conditional, and those are the words that were said. No doubt that they were unsettling and grossly inappropriate. But what he also told the police is, "Yeah, no, I didn't see a weapon. He didn't take out a weapon, and he didn't claim to have a weapon." But this is what he claims next. That Kyle turned away after that and walked back to his house. But then for whatever reason, he turned back and he looked really angry. He looked like he was going to come and fight me, had his fists on, and just the look in his eyes, I knew he was going to attack me. Then he says, "That's why I pulled the gun out." Okay, fair. By the way, legal.
Yeah.
Well, what happened after you pulled the gun out? Did you go towards him? No, I never closed the distance. Well, what did he do? This is what he claimed. He quickened his pace. Kyle, once he saw the gun, started rushing at me. He quickened his pace. And I could tell in his eyes it was you or me. I could tell he was going to come over and take the gun. He was more aggressive. He was going to hurt me. He was going to take the gun. That's what he claimed to the police. This is after he pointed the gun at Kyle. That's the claim. Oh, and he continued to come at me in such an aggressive fashion that
I guess that is a defense.
fired the gun.
They could say, yeah, I didn't think about that, and I'm slipping. But like he said, it might be illegal for him to have the gun out when he had no weapon. But yeah, they could use as a defense. I was in fear that he was going to take the gun away from me. That's actually a pretty good defense. I don't think that's going to be a defense that's going to win here. Not at all. I don't think that's a defense that's going to win here. I did take a quick poll. 78% of you say, yeah, there's no. I said, do you think there's a defense that could make this self-defense after hearing this? 78% of you say no. But now we just heard this added, so that might change. I'm interested to see how that changes. I'm sure some of you wish you could take your vote back. I know I would, because that might be a defense. There has to be a reason that he unloaded that weapon on him. But those shots that he fired after he was on the ground crawling and then coming up to him behind the back, that's a wrap. That's when everything gets thrown out the window. There's no more self-defense. There's no more anything. Real quick, Ian said something about, and I said I had a story. Just a quick story. I remember the story. I just can't remember what Ian said. These people, do they snap? I have no remorse after. Yes, this is what he said. And then Kathy, yeah, I was not interested in court before that. Of course, before that there was the OJ trial. I was interested in that. That was really interesting. But to be interested to this extent I am now, no, not even close. But I was in my 20s then, and in my 20s before I had my legal trouble, and I worked in the movie industry. I worked for Microsoft. I had a busy life. I was a workaholic to the max. So I definitely had no time to be interested in court, and all we had back then was court TV, in which we are using today to comment on. They were, and then it was only trials that were super big and salacious, like the OJ trial. What other trials were back then? The Menendez brothers was a big one. That was a huge one. And we might be reporting on the Menendez brothers here in a few weeks, and that'll be super exciting. So I did do a poll. I was going to end the poll, but let's see how it changes now with this new evidence, and then I'm going to do a poll on if you guys think we should do Germany or Florida tomorrow. I know we only have 44 people in the chat right now. It's fluctuating, but I would like to see, and my feelings will not get hurt if people say no, and it's not really like working, and it's not really fun. My feelings won't be hurt, so I'll do that here in a minute. But right now it's 70%, 76% no, 24% yes. That there is a possible defense for this. I mean, they're going to have a defense. I just mean a defense that could possibly win, in your opinion. All right, let's try to get this wrapped up. I can't wait to hear the defense's opening statement.
He admits to shooting Jason. He said, I hit him. And after I fired the gun, Jason
Look who's
said,
here, made a special appearance.
Back towards my truck. But I look back, and
I need you to have a good day at school.
Despite being hit, he's not even phased. Doesn't flinch. He's now continuing after me again, and I feel like he's going to attack me because he's still on his feet.
I'm gonna go on this side.
Shot didn't seem to stop.
I'm on this side.
Might have flinched because of the noise. That's why I fired the rest of the shots, he says.
Okay, babe.
I fired the shots into his lower body as he approached me, and only then did he turn and start walking towards his house, holding his abdomen. Situation diffused, self-defense manifest. Here's the problem. Well, he's making that statement to the police about Kyle bum rushing him despite having a gun out, continuing to take an assaultive stance and attitude after being shot in the face. There's an investigation going on. The rest of the Rochester PD is back down at the scene, assessing evidence. You can see the crawling smear of blood, not standing, not walking. And more importantly, they get surveillance tape. They get surveillance tape in the middle of this interview with Jason. And somewhere in the middle of this interview, detectives Garston and Flathers are actually informed. They take a break and they go out. And what do they see? They see one of the videos from 43 that catches it. They also police have also obtained the driveway video from 41 that goes from the back, that shed out. They obtained the video from the corner, high corner down into the driveway. They obtained the video from the porch, and they obtained the video from 43. Pretty much a panorama. They also obtained a video from 38 down the street that just captures audio, 5 seconds.
Angie Mo's in the house. Hey, Angie. Just seen your message. Just seen that you were here. Good to see you.
None of these videos are perfect, but together with the scene and the
Thanks,
interlocking
Ian.
nature of it, here's what you can absolutely see is that Kyle comes out, just as Jason says, and they're nose to nose for a very brief period of time, a couple of seconds. You can't hear this audio of their account, which is notable because it captures, for instance, the discharge of a firearm. So whatever's being said isn't being said at such a volume that the audio can pick it up. And yet you see Kyle walk away after this nose-to-nose encounter, gesturing at the snow, and he walks further towards his house, and he turns and takes several steps back, and then Jason steps away from his vehicle with a firearm and advances 1-2 steps towards Kyle. He pulls the gun, and what do you see? You see him charging towards him, continuing to, attack an armed man now? No. You see Kyle stop cold in his tracks. There is a pause.
Oh, man.
Nobody moves.
Wah, wah, wah.
Kyle then moves and clearly turns away.
That takes away the,
Back towards his
take the
house.
gun away.
That is when you can see in one video a muzzle flash and hear the firearm and see Kyle
Yeah, man.
go to the ground. The brandishing works.
That's why he's saying all this, of course. I mean, these guys are smarter than I am. I'm just,
The first shot fully incapacitates him. He drops to the ground. He's on his side. He takes additional shots. You can see the defendant advance towards him. So 3, 4, 5 steps. Aim over him from behind into his back, his buttocks, his testicle, his abdomen, his shoulders,
jeez.
all shot.
Gosh.
He never got up. Never.
Thank God he's still alive.
Jason claimed to police.
Oh, he's saying
So
he
the
got up.
injuries are
What?
what I described them to be. The videos show something very, very different than what Jason claimed to the police to create circumstances that would justify this kind of behavior.
Come on, that's got to be it.
The defense has taken these videos and they've sort of put them together in what they term as an enhancement. I'm going to ask you to carefully look at each one of these videos as they're introduced into evidence. And when you have an opportunity back there to really take a look at even shadow movements confirming that he stopped and turned. The tree, seeing just him coming forward and then turning and stepping back. These reference points all come together to show that this shooting was absolutely unnecessary and wholly unjustified. And so now we reach a different point in this path. They intersect again. Kyle and Jason's paths intersect here. And it may sound corny, but this intersection is called justice.
It is
The
corny.
direction you take forward on this path, because it's now primarily your path to take, will be determined by the evidence, the law, and your common sense. You apply these principles, these values, and to not just the expectations, but the requirements on the street of how we deal with threats, with words. We'll ask you at the end of this case to find that this shooting was attempted murder and a horrible assault that was criminal. further ask that you not let this process
Thank you, Teresa Clay,
confuse the notion of violent and deadly retribution
for the super chat.
reaction.
Thank you so much.
Self-defense. Speaking angry words.
Really, really appreciate it.
Without the deadly means to actually cause imminent deadly force are two different things. Brandishing the firearm in this case worked, stopped him for all these reasons. We're going to come back at the end of this case and ask you to apply those three principles: the law, the evidence, and the common sense, and return verdicts, just verdicts, guilty.
Yeah. Come on.
Thank you, counsel.
Well, that was a pretty good opening statement. This is why I would be a bad juror. I would be a bad juror because I go with my emotion on it, and that's pretty good evidence. Like if they could prove if they show all of that, what he just said, I wouldn't even care what the defense is, because my mind is made up. Once that poor man is on the ground, and he shoots him in the back, just shooting him in the back. Back in the Old West days, a back shooter was the lowest of the low, because they didn't really have, chomos and stuff back then. But that's the lowest of the low, was a back shooter. I used to read a lot of Western books, and if you were a back shooter, oh man, that was the worst. They're like, what? He's a back shooter? We gotta go get old Slim. Yeah, you couldn't be a back shooter back then. So this fool's a back shooter. Thank you, Nanav, too. I really appreciate the super chat or sticker. I don't know what they are. I just know that I appreciate it and the channel appreciates it, which is me and Hazley. We're pretty much the channel because we're the only ones who appear on it. But that's why I couldn't be a juror. I'm already emotionally attached to that prosecutor. Like if I see all that and that evidence, it's a wrap. I don't care what that dude says. He could say, well, he usually carries a gun, so I knew he might have it on him. I don't know what else they can say. But see that he steered me on. But let's see what the defense has to say. I am looking forward to this. And I'm not just saying that for effect for you guys. I really am looking forward to what this guy can say.
You may. Thank you.
Thank you, Hoboken native, so much. Thank you so much. Hoboken. I always forget where that's at. I feel like that's like around where these guys are in New Hampshire. But again, thank you so much for the super chat.
I'd like to make it short, so I want to keep on track. So 5 minutes, we'll be back here to resume.
This guy must know he's hit. I'm going to fast forward
Thank
it.
you all. Can the jury please be let out?
You just got to go. Yeah.
Here we go.
Please rise to re-enter.
Pretty good. This is going to be a pretty good case. It really just all depends on what they're about to say, because then we'll know pretty much what they're going to present. If it looks like it's a cut and dry case, maybe we'll just pop in on it the next few days and see how it is. It's not like that guy down, the lawyer that killed his wife and son. That was just god awful. Is it not Kavanaugh? You guys know.
Good afternoon. Let me say that was quite an opening.
Yeah, it was, man. Hold on. knows he's hurting, man. See, yeah. See, my gut never lies to me. My gut never lies to me ever. Neither does my heart. The heart never lies. For any of us, the heart never lies. Yeah, and don't worry, Ian. I'm not going to forget that story to your comment. I just I know people don't want to hear me digress into a 5-minute story, but I will tell it at the end.
Barely touches on what took place.
That's so funny the way you said that.
2024. It touches it. Let me start by saying just a few things, okay?
Let me lay it down here for you. In a very basic, common sense, everybody knows.
I'll turn on the closed captions.
You know, there's a saying that goes around. It goes around in New Hampshire quite a bit. You don't mess with a mama bear's cubs. You ever hear that? Bad news. Let me tell you something.
Don't mess with the mama bear's cubs.
You don't mess with a father's daughter's life.
Oh, here we
Don't
go.
threaten a father's daughter's life.
I mean, that's true.
You don't threaten a son's elderly parents, and you don't threaten Jason.
I have 4
Even
daughters.
Kyle.
You threaten any of them, I'm probably going to get you.
He did know that. But what was Kyle? What was Kyle? Kyle was a man who had a heart that was full of hate. He had a brain that was bathed in rage. And he had a mouth that was spewing venom on the evening of April 4th, 2024. And to sugarcoat what went on that evening, a little after 10 o'clock p.m., and say it was a petty, conditional threat is the understatement of this decade. What happened that night, ladies and gentlemen, I will give you some background. I will tell you what happened. And you will understand why somebody like Jason, protecting himself, his daughter, and his family, was pushed into a position where he reasonably believed that serious bodily injury or death was about to take place. And when that happens in this state, folks, the judge is going to tell you, you get to use deadly force. And that's exactly what Jason did. Kyle got what he deserved. And any reasonable human being that acted like Kyle should have expected to get the same. Should have expected to get the same. And anybody in the position that Jason Levesque was in can certainly utilize deadly force. You do not, ladies and gentlemen, have to stand back and wait for a screwdriver to get stuck inside you, or a sucker punch to the throat, or who knows what's in his pocket to decide that you're going to use a firearm. That's not the rules. Never has been in this state, never will be. You know, we all reasonably believe that we know what's going on in the cool, quiet confines, hours or days or months away from an event. But this happened in seconds. This happened quickly. This happened where you don't get to roll it over in your mind. This happened where you don't get to frisk his pants and see if he has something in it, or his jacket. This happens, and it happened that night, when a raging maniac, out of nowhere, for no good reason, was threatening the life of Jason and his family. Now that's the context that we're talking about. Not some petty, conditional threat. We're talking about a death threat.
I mean, the guy's still alive. I wonder if he's going to be a witness.
That somebody is talking serious to you, you get to react serious. And that's the law. That
Is it the law there?
Whether it be 1 bullet, 6 bullets, or 20 bullets, you get to utilize them. I'll give you a little aside, by the way. Kyle wasn't straight with the police. Kyle wasn't straight with the police. The police and the prosecution have been hoodwinked by him. He didn't tell them, hey, I angrily confronted Jason Levesque.
He's like, are you serious? That's bad form for an attorney to object, even if there's stuff that's objectionable. To object during a opening statement is bad form. Those attorneys know it. He knows it. The judge knows it. And the judge is probably like going, are you serious right now? And the defense is like, really? I just heard all that speculation and projection and leaving words on the table to be inferred. And you're going to object to me saying that he did or did not angrily, that he's going to testify that he didn't angrily go up to him? Come on, man. Come on. That has to be what the objection was for. Because it was right after that statement. Now, I do not like the prosecutor. See, that's why I couldn't be a juror. Couldn't be a juror. I just feel like, no, dude. What are you doing? Now I don't like you. You know what I mean? And I vote with my heart. Interrogations are great, right, Teresa? Oh man, interrogations really got me hooked. That's how I got. I don't know if you heard my story on how I got into YouTube, but it started with a bounty hunter, and then turned into interrogations, and then court TV. Once I discovered there was court, this was just 2 years ago, less than 2 years. I discovered there was court on YouTube. I didn't know that. I thought 2 years ago, I thought YouTube was only instruction videos. How to, install a garbage disposal, things like that. That's all I ever used it for, was how to install, a light bulb in my car or my truck. I didn't know they had cool stuff. And now look, now I'm a creator. It's bizarre. It's super bizarre. All right, let's fast forward this because we can. Since we don't get to hear what they say. I know I'm probably lagging a little bit. It's because everyone in my house is probably using the Wi-Fi now. No, Kim, I'm sorry. I'm not. I am a Taurus. I'm a double Taurus, actually. I'm like actually a triple Taurus. Like my moon was Taurus, Saturn was Taurus. Everything was like in line with Taurus. The time I was born at 6:06 in the morning on May 6th. This is a brand new case. This was today. I will be showing it live tomorrow.
Kyle, you heard what the prosecutor said about Jason and what he heard? You heard a lot more. You heard a lot more. Kyle didn't say that he was going to fucking kill Jason's family.
Good job, Court TV.
I want you at the end of this case to see who was straight and who wasn't straight. That's for you folks to judge. And you're going to judge the night of April 4th, 2024 on the videos and on the testimony. But let me tell you about that night. Let me tell you about the 24 hours before this took place. The 24 hours before this took place, Jason Levesque was working hard, 24 hours in a row, plowing snow, hitting all of his accounts in Rochester over and over again. It was a continuous snowstorm, cycling through and clearing all night long, and all day long, working hard. The last thing he ever
I see, Kim.
to do was have a confrontation with an enraged maniac coming out of his house. And you're going to see the video. It's not some calm guy strolling over to Jason Levesque saying, please, don't put snow on my driveway. That's not what you're going to see. You're going to see Jason Levesque finally getting home after 24 hours, finally trying to get inside the house.
No, that's not a good
The daughter
defense.
that he's raised.
He was
Finally
tired
trying to get inside the house where his
He
elderly
wanted-
parents live.
just to get
By the way, where
home.
his 5-year-old nephew was that night. So they could finally get some sleep after.
Okay, he was
working
tired. It was okay to shoot him. That's terrible. Nobody cares he was
You're going
tired.
to see Jason Levesque get out of his truck after making a couple of moves with the plow. And this is kind of important, like real important. Because you're going to see the driveway, Kyle's driveway, unmolested by Jason. Jason didn't dump one flake of snow on Kyle's driveway. Not one. Nothing. You're going to see Kyle quickly moving
Yeah, he
out
was sleepwalking.
his apartment,
That's right.
his residence, and be the initial aggressor in
He was
this entire
tired.
scenario. He wanted nothing to do with it, and he didn't even see him coming. Jason's minding his own business. Jason's there with his daughter. Jason's there with his daughter that was also working that night. Jason's trying to get his daughter safely back into the house. When an enraged individual, unannounced for no reason, comes right up to Jason. And folks, the description of face-to-face doesn't even get close.
He's going to
Kyle
demonstrate.
Literally, when you see this video, Kyle literally sticks his nose right into the cheek.
Oh,
of
wow.
Jason.
I didn't know that. I thought he was never got that
We
close.
contend as he's doing that, as he is having actual physical contact. You say face to face, how about face on face? That he
Oh,
initiated.
wow. That changes
Threatening his
things.
life. Threatening his
Changes
daughter's
things.
life. Threatening his family's life.
Let me tell you why I think that changes things a little bit. Because I'm thinking they're pretty far apart that he never got that close. And dude's saying, "Oh yeah, he threatened to kill me and my family." If you're up in someone's face where your nose is touching them, you're not saying you're saying something bad and aggressive. You're not like going, "Hey man, could you please could you please move the snow, bro?" Because that's kind of what the prosecutor was saying. They're saying, "Well, yeah, he was upset, but, and he just went out there and said, hey, could you please move the snow?" Because they're saying he's lying about saying, "I'm gonna, unalive you and your family." If you're like this, you're not being polite. You're not being polite. You're not saying something like the prosecutor said. So yeah, I want to see for myself too. Let's see it. Well, we are going to see it. Because I'm not leaving this case alone. Yeah, pretty interesting.
He doesn't even know why.
Let me go back up.
It's threatening his life, threatening his daughter's life, threatening his family's life. He doesn't even know why. Jason hasn't done anything. And you're going to see that he hasn't done anything. The one thing on that video that is crystal clear is that Jason's done nothing. Nothing. Nothing to even deserve "I'm going to fucking kill your family," like the prosecutor said. Not even that. But quite frankly, you'd interpret it, and any reasonable person would interpret, that Kyle was out of his mind.
Yeah.
That he was acting beyond stupid. That you couldn't predict what he was going to do because the initial act itself was unpredictable. It was without reason. There's no foundation for what he was doing. Screaming and threatening when Jason did nothing. Nothing. Nothing worthy of a complaint. But instead of a complaint, a death threat. That's what you're getting. That's what starts all this. But it just doesn't end. Now, is it a quick event? Yeah, it's a.
Oh, I wonder why they did that. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to go back to it. Something happened. Hold on. I don't know what happened.
The description of face-to-face doesn't even get close. Can you, after placing yourself or somebody in the position that Jason was in, eliminate beyond a reasonable doubt the need for deadly force? I'm going to ask you at the end of this case to answer that question. And I'm going to ask you to say, no way did they disprove.
They have a decent defense for real.
That's self-defense.
Because then he turned around and came back and tried to close the gap.
You know,
that's why I'm sorry, I'm responding to Wolfie. Yeah, they do have a defense because they even testified that he was going back to his house, but then he stopped, turned around, and started to close the gap, and that's why the prosecutor says he stopped. Well, he stopped when he pulled the gun. I want to say he said he stopped before the prosecutor said he stopped before he pulled the gun. We're going to see in the video, that's for sure. Sam, do you have time for a 5-minute college stream? Yes, I do. Absolutely. All right, let's get to it. Not much more.
That Jason was in. Nobody wants to be in a position.
No, Kim, they are not trying to say that.
Where you have to use lethal force. Nobody. But you do get pushed up against the wall sometimes. And that's what happened in Rochester last year. And when he got up in the morning on the 23rd of October and was called into work to go over and over and over and plow for hour after hour after hour, he never, ever expected anything like that tyranny that took place that evening. It's inexcusable. Was Kyle shot? Was he shot multiple times? Were there heroic medical procedures that were pursued? Yes, there were. That's not the case. That's not the prosecution's main point. I'll give you a little aside. Maybe you didn't hear it. Open. If Jason wanted to kill him, he could have. A little fun fact for you.
It's true.
He had another magazine with him. He could have just popped it in the 9mm and emptied that too.
Well, not just that. Not just that. He could have aimed for his head. He could have aimed for his head. He did body shots to stop him, but he was on the ground, and they're still losing me on the back shots by shooting the man in the back while he's down on the ground. So you've lost me on that. But yeah, he could have put in another magazine. But by then he realized, oh shit, I've just shot this dude multiple times. But he didn't think, oh shit, enough to call 911, and that's going to get him too. He's got a lot of stuff against him.
He didn't want anything to do with it. He didn't try to escape. He stayed right there in the driveway of his own home, waiting for the police to arrive.
Yeah, but if his daughter would have said, yeah, run, Dad, he would have ran.
At all.
Run, Dad, run.
That's a fact.
That's probably what my daughters would have said. Yeah, Dad, get the hell out of here.
You don't have to sit around and
Just killed him.
evasion of the police or attempting to escape. It never happened. Waited for the police, took the firearm, kept it inside the truck.
He did.
When he saw the police, he got out of the truck, cooperated 100%. Told him where the firearm was, went to the police station. Evading the police. I mean, I would argue they were still in shock, but he sure wasn't evading the police. That's a heck of a lot of 15 seconds of activity that he just went through. Evading the police. He went to the police station. He sat down with the police. Did he lawyer up? Did he say, I'm not going to talk to you, I want a lawyer? No. Did he go through a long discussion with him? Yeah. And let me give you another little side fact. He offered his video film from his cameras to the police. Yeah. This guy, the video film we're talking about, he offered it to the police. It wasn't some grand investigation. And he spoke to him. And he told him he was threatened. And he told him that his family was threatened. And he told him that he shot Kyle. He told him all those things. And was he scared? Yep. And was it Kyle's intent to scare the hell out of him? Yep. And did Kyle succeed in doing that? Yep. And did Kyle succeed in convincing him that he was in danger? Yep. I'm going to ask you to imagine at the end of this case
going home after a long day's work, and out of nowhere, having somebody confront you, screaming and enraged and threatening your family out of nowhere. And I'm going to ask you at the end of this case, just how long your blood pressure and your heart rate would be elevated after that. And what was going on in your head after that. And how you would react after that. Because that's what it comes down to. Because the true test, when we get down to self-defense, has to do with reasonableness. And it's an interesting instruction you're going to get. And they'll give you some of that. The judge is going to give it all. Did Jason actually believe that the other person was about to use unlawful, deadly force against him? Now, let me just stop there. If somebody says they're going to kill you and kill your family, you can come to that conclusion. Did he actually believe? Did he actually believe that he was in danger of death or serious bodily injury? Roll that over. There's some interesting aspects of self-defense. And it can't be analyzed.
Good night, Kathy.
Like I said, in some Spartan
Thank you so much.
lab after the fact. It has to be analyzed as if you're living through the same events as the individual that is asserting the self-defense.
No, Wolfie, they're saying there's no audio
So you
on the
gotta look at
videos.
shoes of Jason. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those.
But if he's like this in his face, that's enough for me to believe that he's threatening his family. That's enough for me to believe that if he says it.
Path was different than the medical.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Path is one of defending himself in a court of law and forcing the prosecution to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And he has no burden. We all know that. He doesn't have to produce anything. We know that. But as we move through the case, you'll see things will be produced on the part of Jason Levesque. Now the videos, they're not going to tell the whole story. I'm afraid we don't have a beginning to the end. And I'm afraid that you don't have audio, because I wish you did. If you had audio,
Spokes Dexter in the house.
heard multiple threats from Kyle against Jason.
Spokes Dexter's in the
They turned
house.
back more than once and threatened to kill him and his daughter. If you had audio, that would have been a really great gift for you. You would have understood it even better. But you can just imagine and reasonably come to the conclusion that Kyle didn't just turn around and walk back to his house and tuck himself in for the evening. He just couldn't give up. He'd walk back, turn around, he'd shout out some more threats. Turn around, walk back, shout out some more threats. Taunting, threatening, continuously. That's what Jason was.
Yeah, because he probably, I mean, it just stands to reason if he's out there angry, he's gonna tell him, or else he's gonna say, move. If he's that angry where he's getting in his face, I keep going to that, I know. If he's getting in his face and his nose is touching him, he's telling him, move the snow or something. You're not just going, hey, move the snow. You better move the snow. You're saying, if you're that angry to be touching, you're saying, you're giving him an ultimatum. And I guess it's just up to the jury to decide what that ultimatum, who to believe on what he was telling them. What else really could it be? Or I'm going to be a shitty neighbor for the next 3
Wasn't a
months.
good
I
night.
mean,
It was terrible. Terrible night for both of us. Don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in some of this stuff.
yeah, the defense attorney is better than I thought
The
too.
Magical medical procedures. Understand the life-threatening wounds. Understand all of that. It goes with this turf. But in the end, the bottom line is going to have to be this. As the prosecution disproved self-defense beyond reasonable doubt. And as you go through this trial, I'm going to ask you to filter that, all the facts through that legal principle. Filter it. And ask yourself, if and when Kyle takes a stand, do you trust him? Do you trust him? Is he giving you the full story? Or is he giving you the petty little argument that was referred to in opening? Pay particular attention to all of the circumstances in this case, because if you do, at the end of this case, you will come to the ultimate conclusion. You will come to the ultimate conclusion that Jason Levesque acted in self-defense, that a reasonable person in his position would have perceived that he was in danger of death or serious bodily injury. So again, thank you for sitting in on this. You're going to see graphic images. You're going to see medical stuff. You're going to see all kinds of stuff in this case.
Great. I can't wait.
Please keep an open mind. I'm begging.
It's their job to keep an open mind.
Give us a just result. The just result in this case is going to be not guilty. Thank you.
Good job, buddy. Good job.
Yes, please.
So let's talk about reasonable doubt real quick, and then I'm going to tell a real quick story on Ian's comment about when they don't show remorse. A lot of people don't show remorse after they do something bad like this. But I just want to talk about reasonable doubt real quick. ChatGPT says reasonable doubt is the highest standard of proof in the legal system, specifically in criminal cases. It means that a juror or a judge in a bench trial must be firmly convinced. That's highlighted or bolded. Must be firmly convinced of the defendant's guilt before they can convict. If there's any reasonable doubt, uncertainty after considering all the evidence, they must acquit. They must acquit. That should be highlighted too. Breaking it down, but beyond reasonable doubt does not mean absolute certainty, but it does mean that no reasonable person could look at the evidence and still have a real logical doubt about the defendant's guilt. The doubt, and I mean, I have doubt already. The doubt must, if I see this, I have doubt. The doubt must be reasonable, meaning it cannot be based on speculation or unlikely scenarios. The burden of proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt falls entirely on the prosecution. That's another thing. Entirely on the prosecution. The defense does not have to prove innocence. This high standard exists to prevent wrongful convictions, ensuring that only those truly guilty are punished. Well, that's a whole nother show, right? They give an example here. If a witness saw someone commit a crime and there is solid forensic evidence linking them, the case is likely beyond reasonable doubt. However, if the prosecution case relies on shaky eyewitness testimony with no corroborating evidence, a juror might have reasonable doubt and vote to acquit. Would you likely explain it? But anyways, I wanted just to share that. That's it in a nutshell, right? It's going to come down to really witness testimony, meaning even the victim is a witness if he decides to show his face on the witness stand. Interesting. There is a little bit more to that. They do have the first witness come out. We're not going to show that tonight. We've already been on for over 2 hours, and it's getting late. But it's not that. It's the guy's daughter, Kyle's daughter. She they just ask her, did you hear what was said? Can you? No, she doesn't. So she can't tell if there's anything. But I am going to show that before tomorrow morning's hearing. So I might come on a little early. I don't know. I'm going to find out the calendar times and see what's up. The calendar was a little later in the day this morning. I think to get started till 10 o'clock. So we'll just have to wait and see. Again, I want to thank everyone for the super chats. I am going to tell a quick little story real quick, but thank you so much for the super chats. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Teresa, for the gifted membership. NanF2, thank you for the super chat. And Hoboken Native, thank you for the super chat. They're greatly appreciated. So Ian asked or made a comment. It's, that they never show remorse. Let me see if I can go back up to it, find it. Send me a case. Starting on good ground. Something shooting the ground. Hard to justify that one. Yeah, it is hard to justify that. It's heavy. Comment, do you think? Yep, I will have time for a call. Once. Yeah, the multiple shots too, man. That's going to be hard. But anyway, Ian's comment was something like, it's hard because a lot of these guys don't show remorse. Yeah. If this guy showed remorse for it, even in his case, instead of like, no, I was justified. Like he can be like, yeah, I was justified, but man, it sucks, man. I'm glad the guy lived. That would go a long way. I'm telling you, that would go a long way with me as a juror. But I wanted to just talk about like road rage a little bit. Man, I really wish I could find the comment because it made me think of of a quick story. It's good fun. Sam gets as well. It's a good show. Anyways, I'm just gonna tell the story. So one day I was involved in a road rage incident, and I thought we were gonna have to end up fighting. So anyway, the guy cuts me off and he's screaming. So I pull up I pull up next to him, roll down the window. I'm telling him, roll down your window. And I'm like, he's like, man, you cut me off back there, man. And we're driving. I think we're driving in snow. We might not have been, but the dude's basically just like, call me a punk and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, you know what? Pull over in that parking lot then. You effed up. That's what I told him. I go, I'm not the one. You effed up. We were both angry. So he goes over to the parking lot thinking that I'm bluffing, and I'm never bluffing if I'm telling you pull over in the parking lot. So we get over into the parking lot, and I hop out, and the guy rolls down his window. He's like, man, I'm sorry, man. He's like, I found out my girlfriend was cheating on me. This is a true story. He goes, I found out my girlfriend was cheating on me today. And, it's just, I just had the worst day. I'm an alcoholic, but I'm not going to drink. And he's like, man, you look familiar. And I was like, man, you look really familiar too. Well, come to find out, he's in AA. I'm in AA. And we end up hugging it out right there in the parking lot. And Ian's comment just made me think of that, for some reason. And it was crazy. We were both ready. Both ready to fight. But then the guy kind of, after we hug, he's like, man, I'm so glad I wasn't going to, I thought I was going to have to go tell my roommates I, beat up some guy and blah, blah, blah. He kept saying that. Like, so he was like, first of all, when he seen me hop out, he got scared. This guy was tall too. He was super tall, but he could tell that I wasn't the one. And I'm not saying that to say I'm a tough guy or anything like that, but I've been in a lot of cell fights. I was in a high security federal prison. So I'm not afraid to fight, win or lose, right? He could see that. This is a big guy, probably uses his size to intimidate people. But it was funny after we like hugged and was, and was like, came from love and not hate and was kumbaya, right? He like had to make these statements to like save face, like, yeah, man, thought I was gonna have to tell people I beat up some guy in a parking lot. He said it like 3 times. And I wanted to say, hey, dude, quit it with that, dude. You weren't beating anybody up, but I let him get away with it. And, you know, because we just hugged. I'm not going to start another fight with the guy. But I thought that was funny. And when I came home, I told my wife the story. She could tell you. I was like, can you believe this guy? And then tried to say, like, oh, yeah, I'm so glad I didn't have to beat you up, bro. Come on, man. You got scared. As soon as I got out of the car, you were like, bro, man, I'm sorry. It's just been a rough day. But it turns out we were both in AA. We hugged it out. Hopefully the guy didn't go drink after that. I didn't go drink. I wasn't scared or tripping on anything. So anyways, man, what a great show tonight, guys. Thank you guys, or today. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out with me for a little bit. It was super fun. This is going to be a fun case to watch. Absolutely fun case to watch. Yeah, Z's in the chat for the breakfast toast tomorrow. Yeah, breakfast toast it is. Laura May, it's good to see you. I feel like we haven't seen you in a while. Laura May, we've been praying for you and your situation, and wow, we just hope that everything's okay out there in Scotland. Just looking at let's end the poll. 90% says yes for Florida, Germany tomorrow. So I guess I got to do it. I like doing it. I just feel like it's not fluid enough. You know what I mean? Like next question, bam. All right, here we go. Bam, bam. And the winner is, you know, I just feel like it's me just fumbling around for a half hour, but we'll give it another shot. I'm going to try to have, the problem last week was I didn't have the rest of the story or the details of the story. I just had the headline, you know, of the story. So tomorrow we'll try to make it a lot more fun. We'll just give it another go, right? All right, guys. That's the end of the stream. Thank you so much. We're gonna have fun tomorrow. We're gonna watch this trial. And I can't wait for the video evidence. So, man, I don't want to end it. I'm having fun tonight, but I got to. I'm going to go have dinner, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much.